wanting to learn what they're trying to tell you, right? Okay, keeping clock, good. A little bit more technical about how this whole emotional thing is for those who want to know the technical part. There's several theories on how we divide the brain, but one oversimplification of how the brain works, and if there's a neuroscientist in the room, I would love them to take the step and share it, but otherwise, I'm sharing with you everything I've read about the topic. I think in another life I would study neuroscience. Is the brain is kind of divided into system 1 and system 2. System 1, right, is emotional, instinctive, is fast, right? It's the one we're using most of the time because our brain is exposed to way too much information to try to process it all the time. So we go and learn something, and once we learn it, it goes into that automatic mode and we don't think about it consciously. If you just stop to think about everything your body is doing right now, you'd be shocked. If all of that went to the slow mode, we would die. Breathe, you're breathing. Look over there. Hear what you're hearing. Look at that line, the noise of the water being poured. That idea that she shared 2 slides ago, I don't even know what she's talking about. Now I'm still thinking about that other thing. So there's a lot of information. There's visuals, there's physicals, there's smells, there's things happening in your head. If you process all of that in the slow mode, too much energy. And so when we learn something, we go then in automatic mode. That's why we're fascinated when we see little kids going like, oh, they can barely put 1 foot in front of the other. We were once that kid. We learned to do everything. We couldn't eat solids at the beginning. Our body, these muscles here had to develop to a point to learn to swallow, to chew. We had to grow the teeth and whatnot. So that is why it is so difficult, but not impossible, to unlearn something and relearn it differently. And that comes with a lot of the things that we don't go and dissect because we're surrounded. Once you see what are some of the topics we're surrounded by, we can't stop seeing them. You're gonna see money in TV series, in movies, in jokes. An artist is gonna talk about it. It's everywhere, even if you don't talk about it. And you're gonna start seeing, how is it that we think about it? How is it that we relate to it? And in that moment, you're moving whatever you know about money from system 1 to system 2. You're thinking slowly and carefully about it. You're questioning it. You're challenging it. And if you like what you see, you let it be in system 1. But if you don't, that's what's going to take work. Because your brain has built a lot of connections with a topic, and it kind of fires those connections, and that's why you act in automatic mode. So when you want to unlearn and relearn something, you're kind of building new connections that have to replace that one. I like to use the analogy of a river. It's like you have a very heavy river running down your brain, and now you need to change it, but you're changing it by every time you do the new behavior or you repeat yourself the new thing. It's like you're digging kind of a new path for the river while the old one is still running. That's why it's difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. And that's why it cannot be, in 30 minutes, you're gonna change your relationship with, no, that doesn't work. You gotta take the time. You gotta do the work for weeks, for months, depending on how deep that belief or that behavior or that habit is. So that is the bit on why it's so hard to change the way we relate to money. Just a handful of emotions here, but just so you know, there's been around 2,000, if not more, emotions registered. We tend to speak about them in very basic modes, happy, angry, sad, but there's too many of them. And they feel very similar, some of them, which is why it's so hard. But I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. There's some Portuguese speakers here that probably have heard of saudade, which is hard to describe, but it's some sort of nostalgia of, yeah, and then there's in Estonian, avitsi, right? Hard to translate, avitsi. That's another emotion. Think about how that works, right? There is schadenfreude in German. okay, which is, feeling good about someone else's misery, right? So there's a lot of emotions. We don't tend to use them as easily as happy, sad, angry, but there's too many of them. And when you start checking in your body how they feel, you're going to start realizing that it's difficult because many of them look physically very similar. There's usually something related about your heart rate, about your breathing, about your muscles. It's like, a handful of signals in your body, but just a small tweak, and it's already something different. Like, for example, you can feel scared and excited at the same time. You can be sad and happy about a situation. That's another aspect about emotions. We tend to think about them in one by one, but you can have a lot of mixed ones, and that's why it's hard sometimes to verbalize them. And a few examples of how some emotions manifest around money. You're afraid, so you just avoid investing, you put money aside and put money aside, and you don't put it in any institution. Maybe you even have it under the mattress, right? Maybe you feel guilt, you give everyone money, you earn and you give it to everyone, you donate, I'm so generous, and then you don't give anything to yourself and you're like constrained. But I have to take care of others, that's my duty, you don't want to price your products because how am I going to price for my products? I want people to have my products, this is so lovely, but you don't price it, you put work into it, right? There is euphoria, like, I got the job! I got the job because I needed money, but then I go and use my credit card to celebrate because I got the job. That's not very useful, right? Maybe shame, right? You have a lot of debt, but you don't want to tell anyone. And a lot of the debt has gone into showing the world that you look and live in a certain way, so you don't want to talk about it to anyone. When you do know deeply that you should talk to someone about it to understand how to start getting out of it. And it's possible, but you're so shameful. Confidence, right? You can go and tell your manager what are the things you've achieved for the past year and give a very precise number by how much you think you could get a raise. You did your research in the market, you've done the homework, you come and have the conversation, and now you just wait for an answer. You're calm. When you're doing your budgeting, you don't feel like you're restricting yourself. You're just giving your money, which is a tool, so you shouldn't be afraid of it. Once you create a separated relationship where you're just telling it how to go, just like these pants, sit in the right place, then you're calm budgeting because it's just about giving direction to your money and not just about restriction, right? But as I mentioned, these are just a handful of emotions. There can be many more. I invite you to explore yourself. Okay, let's move there's 4 parts. Part 3, money as self-care. A handful of common examples of how money should be used and why that is talked about the same way everywhere, because that's the thing. What you have to know about money is very old lessons. We just don't want to face them. Like, if you read the old books, they're still valid today. But let's have a look at what do I mean as money as self-care, right? I like to think of, there's levels of financial maturity, right? Making a living, not depending on debt, right? Being able to save regularly. Not, I'm gonna save to buy this or I'm gonna save for that. Saving is something that you do as a regular habit. And that's kind of like level 1, right? And a lot of people see saving as you're just, but I could enjoy this right now. What do you mean saving? Like, I could just use this money right now and give myself this. But the thing is that saving is about allowing yourself to recognize that there are things we don't control. So it's not whether something will happen to us or what will happen to us, it's when will it happen? We don't know what is it going to be. It could be an emergency from a health perspective. It could be helping a loved one. It could be a broken pipe. It could be anything. And if you stop to look at people around you and maybe your own experiences, you'll realize, I've actually experienced this already. So saving is a way of accepting that I want to give myself from a month and 3 months from now the comfort to understand that if something happens, she's able to provide for herself, right? And earning money, right? like moving to another company where you could do the same thing for a better salary, or moving to another country, or asking for that raise, or putting that price on your product. Hey, if you're earning a living or making money in a way where you feel you're like channeling your talents, there shouldn't be guilt behind that. Of course, you're not going to go and ask for a manager salary when the work that you're doing is paid on average as minimum salary. Like, we got to use information from the market too. Like, hey, in this country and in this industry, I'm never going to earn that. I've got my data from this other country, so I need to make a decision. Do I move to that country, right? But if you start seeing how each of the things you do with money relate to manifesting that philosophy of life, self-respect, values, it starts becoming less uncomfortable. I'm not gonna say easy, because as I said, it's a journey, but it becomes less uncomfortable over time. And like any skill, money is a skill. You gotta practice it, right? So yes, at the beginning you're gonna be weird, falling from the bicycle, saying the wrong word in the foreign language that you're learning. Same thing with money. But if you keep trying and staying curious and asking, then you get better and better at it. Then there's a very common level. Yes, we can go to the next one, thank you. Which is investing. Again, there's a lot of fear around investing, but I'm not gonna give you the statistics right now, but you can look at them yourself. You can check around how many grandparents you know, how many grandparents reach an old age, being able to cover for a dignified life. A lot of people think that investing is about becoming rich. I'm sorry to break it to you. Investing is a lot about not growing poor. The pension is one tiny thing that you can do of investment to get into that dignified life, but it's not enough. There's a lot of poor old people out there. So think about whether you want to be that old person, or if you want to help an old person in your life. Investing is self-care. If you think that you're going to live long enough, unless you're going like, live fast, die young, bad girls do it. Okay, if you're gonna die, that's okay. You can choose to, that's your philosophy of life. But if you do expect to live a little bit longer, or maybe if you have people in your life that you want to leave something behind for, that's one way I invite you to get more curious about investing. It's not about becoming rich, it's not about fancy things. It's actually very easy and boring. Okay, so that's on money as a self-care tool. Let's move to the practical part. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's skip this. I've talked enough about this. Let's practice, right? So from 1 to 10, in the next slide, you're gonna see, think about it, 1 to 10, where do you place yourself in how confident you feel about your finances right now, the way you handle your money right now, from 1 to 10, very instinctively, very quickly. In 1 is, I even avoid looking at my bank account. I don't know what's there and I don't want to know. I never know. Or you're in 10, I have a plan and I am running it, babe. So where are you from 1 to 10? Think about it. And when you're ready, no, just keep it in your mind. If you're not in a table with other people, I invite you to, because if you want to share, you can share what you're going to do in the next step, right? I know money can be very vulnerable, but here's another secret. Talking about it makes it more normal. So find a friend to talk to about money. Okay, so if you rate it from 1 to 5, you're in group A. And if you did it from 6 to 10, you're in group B. So in group A, you're struggling a lot, so you could start with being intentional with budgeting. So here are 3 steps. First, if you get home, look at your monthly expenses, but right now, I'm sure you remember expenses you made a couple of days ago, or in the last week, or yesterday. So think about what you spend money on, and identify 1, 2, 3 things that you are proud you spend your money on. We tend to think about budgeting as in like, I'm not going to. I will not spend on restriction. But you can also see it as honoring the things that you care about. Like, you chose to be in this event for a reason tonight. And I am hoping that you did it because you wanted to invest in yourself and connect with other people. In a way, you're manifesting a philosophy of life there. That was some money. You could mark that as one thing you did for yourself that you enjoyed, or for someone else. It's good to do things for others as well. Just don't be the one that is just only doing things for others and nothing for yourself, or only things for yourself and never for others. We are social creators, right? So think about that. Then you can move to the saving part. So first, celebrate what you enjoy, what you're using your money in, and then move to the, you look at it very quickly and you already see, I wish I didn't spend that money. That's it comes very quickly. Don't overanalyze it. And then instead of saying, I'm never going to spend money on that again, say, instead of 10 times, I'm going to do it 9 times next month, right? So 10%. That's a small change. You could try. For 1 week, try it. See how it goes. Try it for 2 weeks. See how it goes. So think about that. The third step, we're going to do it in the tables. There you are. When you're ready, let's go through group B. So if you're already doing something with your money, like you're saving some money, great. Saving is not enough, so you should move to investing, right? So think about, what is one meaningful goal for your future self that you care about that you could align with investing? Because another problem I see when people want to start investing, they don't give purpose to the money. If you don't give purpose to the money, you don't know what it's going to be. So they're like, what should I buy? What should I sell? When should I buy? When should I sell? Like betting. No, it's not about that. You have a goal. The goal kind of gives you a time frame, and that time frame is going to go into helping you understand what are the options for me, what are the tools and institutions I can use. And so there has to be a goal. There has to be a meaning, right? You can start from the basics of, I want to do, or not basics, I mean common ones. Like, I want to do a trip around the world for a year. For that, I need to quit my job. Geez, I don't even have money for living for 2 months. Hey, there you go. You have a goal. How long might it take you, right? How much could you invest every month without stressing? So you could do the exercise of group A and then get into that. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're doing 0, moving from 0 to 10, chocolates is something. Now, I would like you to use the last 4 minutes of this talk to share with the women in your table what is it that you're taking from this exercise. It's up to you if you want to share if you were group A or B, or just change it to the big question. Are you taking anything from this discussion today? And what is one thing that you want to try as an experiment? What is an exercise you want to do? Thank you so much. This is the best part, so go and enjoy, talk to each other. Let them talk, let them talk. Amazing. Thank you for inviting me. I always get so excited about this.